right, folks, you know you're in for a treat when you hear that tune because it's time for another week of the RecPoker podcast. I'm so excited to be hosting the show here on Monday night, just like I get to every week, because I've got the best freaking job in the world. My name's Jim Reid. I'm Bluffsterini in the home game and at RecPoker Jim on Twitter. And if you don't know what RecPoker is all about, thanks for tuning in. We are a recreational group of poker players. We love learning the game together, playing together. We help each other get better because it's best to get better together. And we play for fun, but it's more fun when you win. So come join for free over at rec.poker. Or if you want to take your game to the next level, you can try our premium membership for only $15 a month. And if you use the code RecPoker, you get your first month for only $5. But most of what we do here is free. We are a largely volunteer-based organization, which is why I have to thank our sponsors, the Running Aces Hotel, Racetrack, and Casino. I also have to thank all the other members of the RECing Crew, because you get used to hearing my voice on Mondays, but I'm just one of the RECing Crew members that makes all the magic happen around here. If you want to find out more about me and other members of the RECing Crew, please go to rec.poker/crew, or you can just listen up because you're going to meet a few of them right here tonight on the air.
I'm Chris Jones. You can find me 5B5 on Twitter or 5x5 in the PokerStars home game.
My name is Joe Coolis, and you can find me on Twitter at Joe Cool PhD, cool with a K, and at Elvita11 in the home game.
And I'm John Somsky, Poker Geek MN everywhere.
And I'm Rob Washam, and I'm Rabman50, just about everywhere.
And I'm so excited. Every time we get a new premium member, my face lights up. I get a little email from the website saying that some new people have given it a try. I want to thank Dean Campbell for trying us out over the last little while. Dean's a fun player to follow on Twitter. Ken Pachi, he's also been a guest here in the podcast a couple times recently, and I think he's already won a prize for being in the YouTube chat. So I'll just remind all our listeners, it's free, like so many things we do here at RecPoker, to come to the podcast recording live on YouTube every Monday night at 7:30 Eastern. And you can win a prize. It's a free roll. You're going to win either a free month of premium membership at RecPoker or a month at pokercoaching.com, Range Trainer Pro, the Poker Forge. Oh, God. Learn Pro Poker. I think I'm missing one. This is so embarrassing. We've got so many great partners. What a good problem to have, right? But people know that recreational poker players are the lifeblood of the industry, and that's why all the best poker sites out there like working with us here at RecPoker, because we can be the platform that you can use to thrust yourself into the next level of the poker world. Yes, Solve for Why is another fantastic example. Thanks, John Somsky. So, folks, thank you for joining us here on the show. If you're in the YouTube chat, you're going to have a chance to win some prizes at the end by typing the words Food Bank in, but don't just yet. So we're going to be doing a few of these. This is going to be a slightly different episode than usual. Over the last little while, Kim Kilroy, PetVet, some of you may know her, regular listeners here. Kim's been a RECing Crew member for a couple years now, and she's been doing this fantastic series of interviews based around poker empowerment. Kim's been running a monthly poker empowerment group, and she's been interviewing fantastic people from around the poker world with an emphasis on making the poker table, the poker room, the poker game a more comfortable place for everyone to play. So we're actually going to air an interview that she had with Xuan Liu a little while ago. The interview is from a little bit ago, but the material is just as relevant today. We've already shared this interview with a lot of our RecPoker members because these videos were originally intended just for RecPoker members so that we can put our heads together on how we can make the poker world a better place, but they're just too good not to share them with the rest of the world. So we're going to be splicing them into a few podcasts over the next few months, and I hope folks get to enjoy that as much as we have here. So we're going to talk about some upcoming events. If you're listening to this live, it's not too late. You can join the Go for the Gold, the very first annual Go for the Gold RecPoker home game tournament that's in 48 hours. I'm getting all tingly with anticipation just thinking about it. I know I'm one of only 36 silver pin holders, asterisk, that gets to compete for the very first gold pin. That's going to be happening in a couple days. We've also got this weekend, I'm going to be leading a study group based on the Learn Pro Poker material that we have every month. On Thursday night, it's Joe Coolis's very first poker psyop session, which is going to be a lot of fun. We've also got Eric Jin's Play, Explain, and Learn back on Thursday nights. So I hope folks get to enjoy that. Those are just for premium members, but there is a lot going on over here. Folks, head on over to rec.poker/events, and you'll see everything that we do here, home games, study groups, all the discussions that we have, the one-on-one sessions, the group sessions. It's a lot. And Rob,
there might even be a book study this week.
In fact, I have it on very good authority that there absolutely will be a book study this week, because it's either the first or third Wednesday of the month. And Rob, you guys are chugging along you must be getting pretty close to the end of Matt Matros's The Poker Brain.
And this will probably be the last session that would cover the last few parts of the book. So we're going to be talking about exploiting tendencies.
It sounds important.
Yep, very cool.
Sounds
very
like you've
cool.
been building up to that. That's the part where you kind of deviate from some of the rules of thumb, right?
Yeah, last couple of sessions we've been talking about the exploitative part of GTO. So
nice.
how you can use GTO to exploit your opponent's tendencies. There are tournament situations that you can exploit, and there are specific people that you can exploit. And then there's tendencies that people have that you can exploit. So that's what we're going to be talking about this week.
Sweet. When they feature people to exploit, am I specifically mentioned in the book, or is that more of just an assumption?
As a matter of fact, no.
All right. Thanks to Matt Matros for keeping that on the download. Then I appreciate that. And then the last thing I'll say is next week, if you're listening to this, when it comes out, this episode is going to come out on Friday, April 21st. You've still got a few days to get to the seminar recording, the deep dive recording that Chris Jones runs every month. That's on Monday, the 24th, right after next week's podcast, which is going to be a lot of fun too. We're going to be welcoming Elizabeth Bennett Martin onto the show, longtime RecPoker member and recent winner of the Irish Open Ladies event. And that's not all. She's been on quite a heater, and we're very excited to be talking to her about how RecPoker has really been that springboard that's allowed her to just launch herself into the next level of the poker world, like I was talking about earlier. So I'm very excited to be talking to Elizabeth about that and all the fun that she's been having with her poker friends forever, Kim Kilroy and Stewie.
So are you taking full credit for her victory? That's what I just heard. I heard that Jim Reid was the reason that Elizabeth won.
Actually, it's funny. She would be the first to say that she's been good friends with Kim Kilroy and Stu Carriage for a long time. I think they've got quite the poker hive mind going there. Those three, they study a lot, they play a lot, and it just goes to show the value of having a community like this where you can come and brush up against other rec. All sorts of people are about to jump in on me here now.
And,
yeah.
I was just going to say some of our members blame you for every one of their losses. So
that's right.
I guess you got to take credit for some of the wins sometimes. I guess
that's variance, man. I like that. Just roll with it. We're gonna take it. Joe, I
just don't think you should be giving away the collusion of a true hive mind where they can understand each other's cards at the table. I just think that's really just let them be, man. Let them win.
You're right. That's a good point.
Well, and I was just going to say, yeah, they are definitely a force to be reckoned with. They are constantly doing great in our home games and some of the brightest minds that we have here. And despite the fact that you're involved with RecPoker, they are doing great.
That's right. The typical knife twisting from the Wrecking Crew here. You're among friends here on the RecPoker podcast. Well, thanks everybody. So because we are going to be editing in this interview has already occurred. I was part of it. It's an excellent interview. It's not one of those ones that we haven't conducted yet, so I won't be making any guesses about Pulitzer Prize winning efforts or anything like that. But since we're not going to be doing the interview on the show here, folks, why don't you start typing the words food bank into the chat here? I know we probably don't have as many listeners at this moment as we usually do because we're still pretty early in the show, but we can get our raffle going. And so, all right, so we'll throw to the interview here with Xuan Liu, and then we will start talking about home game results and some other exciting things coming up, and we'll give away some free prizes. So without any further ado, on to the interview.
All right, we're recording. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our... Hi, Kate. We want to welcome today my friend and a fellow Canadian, Xuan Liu, to the Empowerment Group meeting today. I've known Xuan for a few years. She was a coach for me. I think I was one of her first students. She's from Toronto originally, and she grew up in Toronto, went to Waterloo, played online in local casinos while she was in school. I heard some stories about you and through Mike Watson stories and Waterloo stories. Anyway, we won't go there. She started traveling on the EPT circuit and had some breakout results. She was on the EPT Players Council and on the Global Poker League Canadian winning team. That was so much fun. I was so sorry that didn't last too long. I loved that Global Poker League, and was sponsored by a few sites, traveled for many years to play poker. She eventually took a personal break, and now she's playing invitational cash games. Just bought a house in Vegas, and she does Chinese commentary for WPT events. And she's a consultant and instructor for Poker Power, which we are going to hear about tonight. Anyway, that's all. Welcome, Xuan.
Hi, everybody.
So let's start.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, we're happy to have you here. Let's start with you.
I must better turn it down because it's so loud in my ears. I guess.
We're just going to mute you, Kate, for a minute, if you don't mind. And so what we're going to do is ask you a few questions, and then we'll put I'll put it out to the audience and see if anyone else has questions for you. So if you'd like to give us a bit of a rundown how you ever got started playing poker, let's hear that.
Okay, there's like the short version, and there's a long version. I'll do something in between. When I was young, I always loved games of skill and chance. I watched this Chinese movie called God of Gamblers when I was like 5 years old or something, and just like loved the concept of poker. They were playing draw poker at the time, but I just loved, having an opponent, outsmarting them, counting odds, things like that. So it was a very memorable experience for me. And when, I first started watching poker on television, I realized that, these guys, these amateurs like Chris Moneymaker, who like they weren't doing anything I couldn't do. And so, I was in university at the time. I was a little disillusioned with like my career prospects. It was so competitive, and, all my friends, like, don't get me wrong, like I think I'm, bright, but all my friends worked harder than me, and I was just drawn to this card game. So I kind of just set out to play a lot online. I started at, Brantford Casino, for those of you who are Ontario based. That was the closest one near University of Waterloo. I started by playing 1-2 live limit. I graduated to, the 2-5 game, then eventually played the 5-5 game at Niagara Falls for a while. That time I was also playing online. I was crushing sit and goes. I was also one of the top winners on FTP's Rush Poker when it first came out. So one of the years when WPT Fallsview came around, I just used to grind those satellites, and immediately, I went from playing $5 sit and goes to like getting a bankroll to play like a 10K tournament. Don't get me wrong, I was not, actually rolled for it, but I was definitely taking shots, and I won a couple of those seats. And so, didn't really understand the concept of selling action at that time, but just thought I could be a tournament grinder immediately. Went on probation for school because I was playing so much poker. So I moved down to Niagara Falls, grinded the 5-5 cash game. It was basically the highest at the time. I think they had like a 10-20 on the weekends and stuff like that. But that was a pretty juicy game back then. And I was young, so I didn't have like a lot of financial responsibilities or anything. And I remember I stayed at like the hostel in Niagara Falls. It was like $300 a week or $300 a month or something. And I would just grind those cash games on the weekends. So after that, like eventually I was encouraged to travel for poker. I went to BCPC in 2007. I was like the last woman standing. Kept on getting encouraged from people in the industry. Eventually moved down to LA for a while to play the cash games there. I actually got crushed and absolutely annihilated. I ended up getting backed, but went into like makeup and just thought that was like the worst period of my life. But I learned so much about, hustlers and angle shooting and things like that. And so I think I moved back for a while and kept on playing online. And eventually, because I had like, nice graphs online, I was able to like sell action for like 5K NAPTs and EPTs and things like that. Exactly. Trial by fire. And like so many lessons I learned from LA really helped me on the tournament scene. Just, knowing what people are capable of, just like being aware of like all the potential angles and scams and things like that. And yeah, it definitely hardened my shell by a lot, but I'm better for it, I think. And my mom like hated the idea. She really wanted me to like do something in finance. I was taking my CFA at the time, but she gave me an ultimatum, and she eventually said that I could travel for a year and play poker, but by the end of that year, I would have to quit and get a real job. But luckily, I was so determined that, I wanted to prove to her that there could be longevity in this career. And so I went to Europe. I didn't have much to my name, probably like 50K at that point. And I played a bunch of like 5K and 10K Euro EPTs. I just sold a bunch of my action and, often stayed with friends and things like that. And that was kind of a breakout year for me. And I had like 2 $500,000 scores within like 18 months or something like that. Nice. And was able to relay that into, traveling the world and getting some brand ambassadors and things like that. Yeah, that's the longer version than I anticipated, but
well, sounds like a really exciting life to me. Sounds great. As you know, we like to travel for poker as well. How have you, this is a group for empowering. I know I've got lag on my computer. Sorry. I'm at the cottage. It's bad internet. We are a poker empowerment group for everyone, but especially for women, to try and get more women into the game. There's been a lot in the media lately about women and how the game may not be welcoming in certain ways for women or easy for them to break into. And how did you find it as a woman coming through the ranks in poker?
You know what? I have to be honest and say that while I've definitely experienced sexism at the table, I am super blessed for being like a younger, pretty, above average in attractiveness and things like that. So the sexism I do has to be people who look down on me, who underestimate me, who think I'm only there, to meet guys and things like that. And sometimes you can use those things to your advantage. But I've seen just ridiculous behavior against women who don't fit that demographic. And, I've always been pretty vocal every time I've seen it. It's just not fair. It's like when guys think that, females have this advantage, it's like very small section of women. If you don't fit that paradigm, you'll never be invited to the juicy games. You don't, you're like an out person. No one's going to spend their time trying to improve your game and listen to what you have to say. And so like I said, I've been blessed and lucky that, immediately I was able to like make friends with some of the best players and learn from their experiences and that knowledge base, but it's not that peachy for everybody for sure.
Right, right. I know that what your latest venture in Poker Power. I know because I played the game that you had hosted online, and maybe you could tell us a bit about that because it sounds like a great thing.
Yeah, so Poker Power was formed around last year, right before the pandemic. I haven't been involved the entire time, but I have been for about 8 months now. We were founded by a woman entrepreneur who has a lot of other projects. She is the founder of Peak Six as well, a trading firm. And one day she wanted to realized she wanted to teach her daughter how to play poker. And I think she's like 16 years old and just like didn't see any resources out there. And so, when you're that well off, like you can just say, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to create something that's going to teach women and I'm going to do it my way. So it's definitely a passion project to her. We're not entirely sure the direction that we're going, whether that's to, be involved with real money gaming or anything like that. But the core objective is to get 1 million women learning how to play poker, because no one can deny that poker skills translate to real life skills, translates to career skills and things like that. And women, historically haven't always had the opportunity to completely overcome those obstacles on their own, whether it's, lessons on financial freedom, lessons on negotiation, taking risks, improving your confidence in like a male-dominated setting and things like that. So we're trying to teach all these lessons at once and through poker.
Yeah, that's great. That's amazing. Do you think that having women-only poker events is good to attract more women into the game?
I think it's wonderful. Like I said, historically, women weren't even allowed in a lot of games. I mean, even these days, the juiciest private cash games at the hotel rooms with like, the strippers and whatnot, like no girl's going to be allowed in those games, right? That's kind of where all the money is. So having a space for women to get together and practice their craft and, not worry about like looking silly in front of guys or being judged. It's important. It's like giving them more of an opportunity and showing them that they belong there if they want, and hopefully encouraging them and building up their confidence so that they can eventually compete in co-ed environments when they're ready.
Excellent. I'm going to open up the floor and ask if any of the panel here has any questions for Xuan.
So I had a question because I think taking on what Kim was just talking about, there's two elements to, and I'm trying to figure this out myself. One, I like this notion of having like these comfortable places, like these women-only events, for instance. Like that feels like one track where we can get women more comfortable with the game, playing under this more comfortable circumstance. And then I think we need sort of like another parallel track where I don't remember. I think it was June Jenkins who I was talking to recently about how like the real world isn't a safe space, and so we kind of need a way to work on our ways to kind of mitigate that feeling of discomfort. And I don't know how I feel about that, because I feel like I don't want someone that, like, if someone's being uncomfortable, that shouldn't be their problem. You know what I mean? Like ultimately, I think it is like they kind of feel like it's their problem, but I feel like what we're trying to do is create a situation where we all kind of own the cause of that. And I don't know if I'm always looking for ways to be helpful at the table without like imposing my version of what helpful should be on the table. I guess, can you just speak to a little to that, or to sort of like the difficulty in calibrating?
Yeah, I think that's really a really considerate approach, Jim. So my thoughts on that, I do ultimately believe it is your personal responsibility to, practice and then gather the strength eventually to compete in co-ed environments if you so choose, and that you shouldn't expect other people to hold your hand the entire way and always create these, quote unquote, safe spaces for you. However, I don't think that's what this is about. Like there's a ton of specialty groups. There's, like Toronto location-based hobby groups. There's, age bracket hobby groups, things like that. And women making up, literally 50% of the demographic. Like, why shouldn't we have like one special hobby group that, has like one event every tournament series or things like that? I don't think it's too much to ask. And I think, people who kind of like shifted around and claim that like we're asking for too much or that we're like whining, like those people seem to me like they're the actual people who are whining and complaining, right? Yeah, it's all in good fun. We're not saying, we're not as good as men. We're not saying like, all men trash or anything like that. Like we just want like this one event where we can do our thing and have fun with each other.
And have you experienced actual pushback yourself from just having that private event? Like, is that, I guess I see jerks out there sort of in theory talking about it, but I guess I'm just always surprised at how low the floor can be for people in the poker world sometimes, to be honest with you.
For sure. It's a debate that comes up every once in a while, every time the ladies event comes up. And, if I have the energy, I'll engage. If I don't, then I won't. Doug Polk actually posted something today about Maria Konnikova. I'm not sure if any of you guys saw it.
I read
he,
the whole thing.
Quoted some article and was like, who would refer? Yeah, I didn't read the article or anything, but like, is this really the spot you want to draw attention to? Like, Maria Konnikova done so much for the game, brought so much mainstream attention, and wrote so eloquently about the poker experience. And, I responded to the thread and I said, basically, by a pro's standards, no, she's not a top pro. However, by, like everybody's standard, like every single poker player, of course, she's like the top, 2 percentile or whatever. You can't, top is such a subjective term, right? Like, what is that in relation to? Like all your buddies? No, she's a nobody. But for the world, like they see her and it's like, wow, she's traveled on the circuit. She's, had these like really cool results. Of course, she's the top pro. And why is he choosing to, nitpick like this one circumstance where a woman's gaining recognition, right? There's a lot of, I guess, like unknown male players who has articles written about them that he doesn't choose to focus on. But, there's clearly a disconnect there between what he thinks he's doing to like help the world and what he's actually projecting based on like what he's saying. It's definitely an interesting conversation. Like I said, if I feel like the conversation is going to be productive, I might engage. If I don't, then I try to avoid it as much as possible.
Do you think he really thinks that way, or do you think it's just clickbait for him? Because I feel like it didn't really make sense what he didn't really have an argument.
I think he really thinks that way. He's really bright in a lot of ways, but also I wouldn't exactly call him a worldly or like, right, cultured human. Right. Sorry, Doug.
I'm sure he's not watching.
The thing that you have to wonder about, though, like somebody like him with such a huge following, and, there's such big issues in today's world about gender equality. If you don't have anything good to say about somebody, why do it? Right? What's the purpose in that? Right? I think in the end result, he just makes himself look bad.
Yeah, if you like went further down his thread, he actually thinks he's helping women by pointing out that women don't need their hands held, and they don't need to put on a pedestal for everything that's written about them, when it's just like a mediocre success. He's like, a woman like going deep in a tournament or something, like that means nothing. It's not a testament to like her skill level or things like that. But yeah, he's really not recognizing that it's, almost purely a numbers game. Like if 5% of the tournament field is women and one of them does well, it is kind of a big deal, right? It's less so when you're that 95%, but if, there weren't many of you to begin with, then like it's something we're celebrating. And another response of mine was that, men have been playing Texas Hold'em for like about 100 years. Women really have not. We weren't allowed in those spaces. And to this day, we're still fighting for, a lot of very basic human rights in a lot of parts of the world. We didn't have the luxury, the time, the determination, things like that, to think about pursuing this game as a hobby. And so there's going to be less women who get into the game, which means there's going to be less women who become pros, which in turn means that there's going to be less women who do well. It's not rocket science. It's not, whatever he's trying.
I would definitely like to see the demographic slowly change. I mean, poker started out in back rooms, smoking cigars and drinking liquor and keeping the women out. And that's how it started. But it's developed over the years into like an intuitive, cerebral game. And we're really good at that. Women are really good at that stuff. So as it becomes more up our alley, then I think that I think the demographic will slowly change. It just has to be encouraged in every way we can.
100%. And, we're not like, I don't expect 50% of the field to be women, but right now it's like around 5%, even less during the main events, a bit more online because you can be anonymous, but I can, even if we double the entire amount of women who play, like that's going to make a huge difference.
Right. Do you think sorry. I'm just wondering what's sort of holding some women back from becoming more involved in poker. Is it like, do they have just more important things to do in their opinion than play poker? Or is it that we're too busy raising families? What is the reasoning there? Why aren't there more young women coming into the game? Which I know is one of the things you guys are encouraging with Poker Power, with the college level and everything, trying to get more young women into the game. Because even if we pick it up as young women and we maybe stop for a while and have families, and then we can pick it up again in our middle years,
Yeah, it's such a multifaceted question. So part of it is definitely the social upbringing. Many women aren't taught to be responsible or good with money, to have financial acumen. Some women choose to do the family route and be less risky, so more risk averse, like not get into gambling and things like that. There's also the stigma involved. There's also, many women around the world are taught that, this is what being a good girl is, and you have to follow these rules or else you're going to be ostracized by society. You're not going to be able to find a husband. Even if you don't believe that on like so many levels, there's, if you've been raised around people like that, it's a voice at the back of your head. Another aspect of it is like poker is hard work to make, to make a profitable living, like more than 6 figures a year. You need to be so dedicated and so good these days. I know if, I was a bright person with a lot of prospects who was, studious, like I probably wouldn't be looking to pursue poker as my number one path, right? It's only because I also love the sense of adventure and things like that. Like all of these things had to fit perfectly for me to pursue this path. But, those are rare ingredients, especially for a female. It's also, representation. If you don't know a lot of female professionals who you look up to, then you're not going to really see it as a viable career choice, right? Like I said, it's so multifaceted.
What about just as a hobby, though? Like the vast majority of men that play poker are not playing it professionally. The vast majority are recreational players. They're just playing it for fun or for whatever. So how do we get more women into that aspect of it? This is a really fun, interesting thing to do. It engages your mind. It's social. I would have thought it's cut out for women because it's a social game. But you're right. It's got so much stigma to it. Like I just tell my friends, oh, you're a gambler. I'll tell my friends I play poker. Oh, you're a gambler. No, I'm not a gambler. I'm a poker player. It's like there's a big difference. And I thought one of the things that was so great about Maria's book is she brought it into the limelight, into the general public, like that poker's a game that isn't just gambling. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's exactly what Poker Power is trying to do. Part of it is also marketing. If you grew up during the age of, WPT Royal Flush Girls, you don't see yourself as a player, right? You aspire to be those models probably. And so like we're trying to market, you see like my banner behind us, this is for Pride Month, but usually we have, bright coloring, like a bit more feminine, things like that. And it shows women that like it's not just going to be a bunch of smelly guys in the basement like smoking cigars. It's also, you can practice these, you can be social, have fun with your friends, and at the same time learn this really cool skill that can help you in other aspects of your life. You can use your brain power. You can test your limits, and it's in an environment where it's okay. It's more about risk and analysis and probabilities rather than gambling and degeneracy.
Excellent. Anyone else have any questions or comments?
Can I ask a question?
Of course.
Yeah, sure. Xuan, coming back, moving away from the gender equality issues and coming to the game of poker itself and the strategy, we all learn lessons over the years as we learn to play and as we grow in the game. And I was just wondering, in terms of a message to female players who are learning the game and male players alike, what would be one of the biggest lessons that you have learned in poker?
Ooh, that's a loaded question. I know early
That's a knack
on
for these.
it was having the confidence to have other people wait for you. I know this is kind of controversial and we don't like playing against players who are slow, but when I was an up and coming amateur player, I always used to be anxious when people had to wait for me, regardless of how large the decision was, because I respected other people's time more than my own time and my own abilities. And so I didn't want to take up space. But once I had decided that, you need to do whatever it takes to become a winner. And sometimes like they can wait if they really want, they can call the clock on you. That's fine. So that was like one of the more practical things I learned. Another one was, I guess it's more about like work-life balance, if you want to make a shitload of money playing poker, you can, but you're probably sacrificing a lot of other things, and you just have to really consider if like all those things are worth your poker success.
Those are really great messages. Thank you. I had the pleasure of watching your final table in person in the PCA in 2012. And, it was just so fascinating. And now, after these years, and I read about your mother's influence and her giving you the ultimatum, what does she think now? What happened following those two big wins?
Honestly, the thing with tournament poker is, so I haven't been playing tournaments in a while, but every time I go play and she hears that I lose, she'll still be like, okay, so you're going to do something else now? Like, after each win, it's like, okay, so like, you're going to keep playing. Like, when's the next one? But like, after each loss, it's like, okay, stop now. Yeah. That's why they need, lessons on probability and sample size and things like that.
Right.
They mean well. So for the men that are here, we have 4 here, great men here. When they see something at the poker table, how can they help in a situation where they see somebody that they feel is being rude or abusive to a woman at the table? And verbally, obviously.
Just if it's bad enough, just say, dude, just back off, chill out, just something like that. Just a comment like that to let him know that he's the one everybody's paying attention to. And he's not getting the right kind of attention.
That's a good answer.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it's always tricky for guys because you don't want to come off too white knighty. Like, like the girl can probably handle it herself as well. So it's like, should I say something? Should I not? But yeah, like if it gets really bad, definitely do. Maybe just like give them a glare, like when it first starts or something like that.
Yeah, you don't have to turn it into a major drama event. Just de-escalate the situation and let the guy know it's probably best just to shut up and play.
That's not cool. Something just simple, right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, okay.
What have been your worst experiences with sexism at the table?
Me personally, I've been fortunate enough not to have very many. Probably because I'm not young and beautiful, but I have only in the form of poker play, like men that have thought they could bully me in their poker play. But,
right.
So they've soon found out that wasn't a thing they could do.
Awesome.
That's the best response.
Yeah. I remember playing in the main event in maybe 2017, and I was at a table, and this middle-aged gentleman was at the far side of the table from me, and he kept trying to get into hands with me, and he kept raising no matter what I did. So finally, I went right to the end with him, and I just raised all in on him, and he just folded and he says, okay, I'm not getting involved with you anymore. And I didn't even have a very good hand. I just knew he was just bullying me. Right. So it was like, he goes, I'm not going near her anymore. So that was fine. So as soon as I played back, got some respect, but I haven't had any really bad experiences, but I know that other women have had a difficult time and feel intimidated. I've generally surrounded myself with friends so that I haven't had to feel that way for the most part. So yeah, I've been lucky, but not like everybody.
Mm-hmm. Awesome.
How do you think people like us that are part of a group like RecPoker can help as far as getting more women into the game to begin with? We can promote RecPoker in the poker room, but someone has to be in the poker room to do that. How can we maybe recruit more players to begin with? Because it seems like there's low hanging fruit there. If only 5% of tournament players are women, there's got to be a lot of women who would like to play, but there's something holding them back. something discouraging?
Yeah, definitely. It's a great question. If you want, you can, either send beginning curious players to like an organization like Poker Power, or you can like start your own beginners club, inviting women, maybe giving like fun prizes, things like that, that are more female oriented. I'm not sure what that would be at the top of my head, but, find like, you can do like wine and poker events, or just like super casual things where like getting them to like be comfortable enough to learn the game, but also not putting so much pressure, and not letting them be discouraged if they find out it's not for them. Just like, being super empathetic and compassionate and welcoming, let your friends and family know, but also like, don't be weird and say, we're only allowing female members right now, female beginner players, I know like the number one reason many women get started is, if their dads or their brothers or something like that play. So definitely, your family members is a great place to start. Speaking of low hanging fruit, just like encourage them. Like next time they're like, oh, it's not for me. Or, like I bet, even if they're very risk averse, they've been curious about it, and they just, don't want to look or sound silly in front of you or their friends. So that's a great place to start.
Xuan, have 1 million women learning to play poker. That's a huge number. Do you have any idea of how many people you have taught to play poker so far?
That I have personally taught?
Or the group?
Probably a couple of hundred, but that includes like corporate events. So I've had maybe about like a dozen or so classes since I've started. Each class is usually between 6 to like 18 players. And we've done a ton of corporate events. Like we did a collaboration with like Kellogg's MBA program. We've done like esports events. So like all kinds of cool corporate crossovers, things like that. So, teaching women is like quite loose. We count each one that like we introduce to the game, but of course, like getting to a point where they are actually comfortable enough to sit at a table is quite different. But I think there's something like 30 million men out there who play poker. Like I don't think another 1 million women around the world in, a several year time frame is too much to ask. We are like thinking about expanding to Europe and eventually Asia. So it's just like a word of mouth situation, and really exciting stuff coming through Poker Power in the future.
Cool. Do you think, I don't know if there's any stats on this, but do you think more women have taken up poker during this pandemic while they've been home, and there's more ability to play online? Do you think we'll see more women come into the game when the pandemic is over, into the live game?
That's a great question. I think in general, there will be more players. I feel like if you didn't play before the pandemic, you probably weren't going to start during the pandemic. Like I could be wrong. So it's probably like, stalled the amount of females getting into the game. I think especially, the pandemic is a time where people are panicking and worrying about like survival and things like that. So unless you enjoyed the game before and used it as like a hobby or like a soothing pastime, you're not going to be like, like, what should I do today? Like, pick up a new hobby that seems, quite risky and will potentially give you even more stress during the pandemic.
I'm wondering if more women, if they were playing before a little bit, have now taken some time to study and play some more with all the stuff that's online, and perhaps then we'll see a few more of them come into the live arena. I'm hoping so anyway.
Yeah, it's definitely possible. I am, however, optimistic that maybe in 2, 3, 5 year time there will be more women. One partially due to Maria Konikova's book. Two, also Alex O'Brien published an article in the BBC lately about her heads-up match with Dan Bilzerian, and I think that's garnished pretty good mainstream interest. So who knows?
Yeah. No, that's good. Jim, did you have a question? I saw you type something in chat there.
Yeah, I think we often talk about specific actions we can take at the table when we see someone is being made uncomfortable. But I think that's not just for women, but for people generally. I think we do kind of have a responsibility to the community to self-police when people are getting out of line, no matter what. So, but specifically with women, is there something in the time of our lives when we're not at the table playing poker? Maybe when we're talking about poker with our friends, or when we're creating poker content, or setting discussion, like when we're not playing poker, what are there things that we can be doing to be better allies or champions for this cause? Not at the table.
Yeah. So much of the sexism in poker doesn't actually take place at the poker table, right? Like I said, not that many females, if any, are going to get into the juiciest high stakes cash games. And if you hear about how a lot of top professionals or even casual players talk about women, judging the servers that come by, calling women the rake, things like that, it's not helping bring more women into the industry for sure. So just being more conscious of the language that you're using, not only in front of women, but when you're speaking like that to your buddies. I know it's all in good fun, but you're kind of reinforcing these old social habits that aren't ultimately good for women. So just be mindful of that, and how you speak in front of even your kids and things like that, because they learn from you. How you talk about women, and all of it is related. And I'm not expecting everyone to be a model citizen, but just a tiny little bit goes a long way.
That's great. That's amazing. That's good advice. If anyone else has any questions, I think we're going to wrap this up, unless anyone else has some comments. Yeah.
I just have one thing I have to ask, because I read about you have a love affair with comic books. Do you have a favorite character?
I guess it's a little narcissistic, but I like X-23 because I see some of myself in her. So she's a Marvel character, and she's kind of she was modeled after Wolverine.
Okay.
She has a hook. And she kind of looks like me. She has dark black hair, and she's kind of she's been through a lot of trauma, and she's kind of jaded, and so she's a cool character.
Very good.
That's fun. All right. Yeah. Well, I want to thank you so much for coming to talk to us today, and hopefully we'll see some improvements over the next few years. And Elizabeth and I will see you in Vegas in the fall.
Yes, hopefully. Yes, definitely.
Let me know if there's anything else, if I can post anything on social about RecPoker. I would love to do that. And have fun, everybody, and good luck at the tables. Bye.
Thanks.
Thanks.
And we're back, folks. I usually have a nice little comment here about how, for all we know, that's the best interview we've ever done. But I really enjoyed it, honestly. I watched this one when it came out because I was one of the people in Kim's poker empowerment group, which was running for quite a while and had a ton of really good interviews with women in poker. And like I said, we're going to be sharing more of these over the next few months with our listeners. And it's such a great topic to be talking about. She really tapped into some really excellent minds in that part of the poker world. So I think we can all benefit to that. And my thanks to Sean, of course, for being a great ambassador for the game. Sean's involved with Poker Power as well, which is one of our friends' organizations over here, one of the organizations that we like to help support. Another great cause for the world of poker. So speaking of great causes, I just want to mention one more time that now more than ever, food insecurity is something that exists on a spectrum. Lots of people are hungry out there. They don't have the means to put food in their stomachs. A great way for you to help your neighbor, to help people in your community, is by contributing either some time, money, or some non-perishable food items to your own local food bank. And if you just Google food banks near me, I'm sure you'll find some great organizations that could benefit from your support. Be like Joe Coolis. Be like Joe Coolis and make some contributions to your local food bank. It's a great way to make the world a better place right in your own backyard. So, John, why don't you take us through some recent home game results, and then we can tease anything else that's coming up that we're excited about and roll on out of here in record time.
Well, we started off, we had on April 12th, our Mixed Game Championship Series. And Fatigue Fall, Danny Wood won their very first Rec Poker event ever.
Amazing.
And I don't know that it was the first that they played, but the first that they won. And of course, it was the Mixed Game Championship Series.
Oh, that's so cool. So Danny's one of these players who he got started by tuning into the podcast, and he had a great time the first week he was here. I think Danny's Australian, I know, and we had an Australian guest on that got him interested. He joined for free. He won a free month of Rec Poker Premium. He's been getting more involved here. He won another month somewhere else. I still have to email him back with the details for that prize, actually. Sorry, Danny. But this is great. This is what, come join for free. Come join for free. And all of a sudden, you're getting all these free training opportunities. You're winning the home game club. That warms my heart. Congratulations, Danny. Way to go.
And then we had Ship and Flick Breck, Driscoll.
Nice.
Yeah, it's easy for you to say, huh?
I think we need an explicit tag now for this episode.
Won the daily TOC tournament, earning a coveted silver pin.
So, John, do they then qualify? Did they sneak in under the wire? Did they just pull the rug out from underneath you? And
they did qualify for the Go for the Gold tournament on the 19th. As a matter of fact, I was getting ready. I typed in the chat saying, "Hey, you just qualified for this. Be sure to go sign up here." Then I went over, logged into PokerStars, and they had already beaten me to it. They were well aware that this gave them the rights to play in the Gold for Gold, had signed up for the tournament, and I approved him, and he'll be running for the gold.
All right, way to go, Luke. Congratulations, man. It's gonna be fun. Oh, he's in the chat tonight. Ship and Flipwreck. I gotta say, I just love that username. There's something about just the cadence of it that makes me smile every time. Congratulations, Luke, and good luck on Wednesday. But I'm coming. I want that gold. I want that gold so bad. I want to be the first person to ever win a Rec Poker Gold pin. So I'm bringing my A game, brother. Bring it. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah, and I want it officially known he stole my spot.
That's right. Yeah, it was. You were very clear.
Right. It wasn't that I didn't play well. I'm sure it was just that he stole my spot. Then on April 10th, Hawsey 08 got his second nightly victory for the year. Shark Slayer 21, Lucky Hawes, got his first nightly victory for the year.
Family resemblance there. I think those two are related.
I believe that is true.
No.
And then Dandy Res G, Daniel A, got his third nightly victory for the year.
Nice.
And just to have more tongue twisters, Ship and Flip Breck, Luke O'Driscoll got his third nightly victory for the year.
Whoa, big week for Luke.
And then K Poker Wannabe, Ron Payton, got his second nightly victory for the year. Then K Poker Wannabe, Ron Payton won the daily mixed event. That's two events, same evening.
Okay, Ron. Now, Ron, I do know Ron is a friend of Kim and Elizabeth and Stu's. So it's no surprise that they've been cooking up in the lab and coming up with some great poker strategy. Congratulations, Ron.
Well, yeah, this is Ron's 12th and 13th lifetime victories for Rec Poker. So getting up there.
Yeah, just because he's chatty at the table doesn't mean he's not paying attention to how to take your chips away, folks. You've been warned.
Osloberger, Tron Vidar Stensby,
Yes.
got his first international victory for the year.
Amazing.
Jasper Jr., Pat Barry, got his first international victory for the year. And Poker Geek man John Somsky won the daily LPP event, so he can contact Jim at rec.poker for his free month at Learn Pro Poker.
Yes, sir. Please do send me that email, jim@rec.poker. I want to unlock all the secrets of Ryan LaPlante and Learn Pro Poker and make them available to you. And if you win that Sunday night tournament, it's free to enter, but you win a free month at LPP. So don't hesitate to reach out and send that email. Chris, did you have something there?
Well, I mean, are you sure he has that email? I mean, I don't even think you caught. I don't even think you caught who won that. Did you catch who won that?
I didn't. I wasn't. I was drawing up I have a. Was it John?
It was John.
I saw that on Discord. Oh, I forgot. I was pulling up the international lobby. John, you got me going on this because I was playing in the international series myself this weekend. Congratulations, John, by the way. I do get kind of used to these. But I was just pulling up. I took a screenshot of the lobby, and I had to find it on my desktop. And we're recording live right now, so I had to kind of pay more attention to pulling up the screenshot to the podcast for a second. But, John had this fantastic idea. Well, I'm not sure if it was his idea. We're going to give John credit for this idea. Having these international series of home games at different time zones. Because at 9 o'clock Eastern is not always a convenient time for people overseas to play. And so, I don't know, like a year and a half ago, we started adding these Saturday morning and Saturday afternoon tournaments. And I was playing in one of them on the weekend. And I was just so pleased. We always get a bunch of American and Canadian players. But this one, we had one from Norway, one from Turkey, one from Germany, one from New Zealand. I don't even recognize what this flag is, but we're actually getting a bunch of international players playing in these morning and afternoon international home game series. So it's so great to see that. And again, just kudos to John Somsky, not only for his win that I was totally paying attention for, but also just for all the work he does here to make the home game club as exciting and fun as it is. And for literally bringing this game worldwide. We've got members from most continents. It's really exciting.
Well, I do want to apologize to people too. You may have noticed that there have been if you subscribe to the emails for the home game clubs, there have been a lot of cancellations. PokerStars has recently updated how their home game clubs work. I no longer can cancel an entire series. So somehow the March series doesn't have the right end date, so it's keeping going on. So I have to, as every tournament starts, I have to cancel the next one. It's currently out somewhere in June or so, but I don't know. By default it goes until 2024. So I think for the next year I'll be canceling this month. Hopefully it doesn't continue for the future ones, or they update the software to let me cancel an entire series. But in the meantime, I do apologize. I've made a few more mistakes than usual too, getting used to the new interface. And I will just make mistakes because I'm me. So I apologize.
John, that's funny. I had noticed an unusually high number of emails from the PokerStars home game club about canceled and rescheduled tournaments. So that does shed some light. Is there a way, I guess I should ask, in case listeners were equally bombarded, is there a way to unsubscribe to those emails? Do you know, is that something?
If you go to the home game club, on the members page, you can say you don't want to see responses from that club.
Okay, burying the lead. There we go. That's awesome.
If you don't care about those emails, you can get rid of those emails without exiting the club.
Okay, fantastic. And folks, you should know, so we've gotten into a bit of a groove here with these home games. Every single night at 9 p.m., there's no limit home game. On Saturdays at 9 p.m., this is all Eastern time. On Saturdays at 9 p.m., there's a mixed game. On Saturday at 9 a.m., there's an international series. On Saturdays at 3 p.m., there's an international series. And then on the first and second Wednesday of the month, there's the No Limit Hold'em and the Mixed Game Player of the Year race. So don't worry if you're not getting emails. You can turn off the emails and still very easily predict when the home games will be. They're every night at 9 and a couple extra ones on Saturdays. And if you go to the rec.poker homepage, if you just scroll down a bit, you'll see the calendar for this week. And all those yellow events are all home games. And all the blue events are all opportunities to engage, study, talk strategy over Zoom or Twitch or YouTube or something like that with the RECing Crew and other premium members or community members there. So I would encourage you to go check out the Home Game Club. And especially if we're going to be getting a lot of emails for the next little while, maybe just take yourself off that list. And if you have any questions about how to do that, again, you can email john@rec.poker, JOHN, the cool way. All right. So, so what do we think, Chris? Should we do our roll? I see we did get a few people typing into the food bank raffle here. I see Mary. Oh, hold on. It's Kim Kilroy herself. She's coming in here to the chat. So while we're waiting for Kim to load up here, I see Mary, Rob, Jack, and Luke. Is that what you see there, Chris?
That is exactly what I see.
Okay, perfect. So why don't, while Kim's getting connected here, why don't you work your magic nerdy dice, and we'll see who the winner's going to be. Have we still no ISO cam, eh? We're still working on the.
Yeah, no, I need to figure that out. But it's a 3. I feel like that's becoming a little bit of my trend. But when you have 4-sided dice, there aren't that many options. Yeah,
that's true. So Jack LaRue, you're the winner, my friend. Please send me an email, jim@rec.poker, and we'll make sure that you get set up with your prize. It's just that easy, folks. Come join the podcast for free, and you never know what you could win. Kim Kilroy, welcome to the show. We were just actually wrapping up because our guest, you and I talked earlier about sharing some of your interviews from the Poker Empowerment Group, and tonight is the very first one with Xuan Liu. And so okay. I wanted to, I was going to say you missed the interview, but you definitely did not miss the interview because you were conducting it. It was one of several great ones. I'm really excited about sharing with more of our audience now that the summer's coming up. And yeah, like I say, folks can expect to see a few more of those coming out over the next little while. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we've given away some prizes. We've talked about some upcoming events. If anyone's watching along, and if you're a premium member and you're watching in real time, you've got about an hour to go grab a bite to eat, and then you can come back and join us for our forums edition of the podcast. Premium members are always welcome to join us for the forums edition of the podcast. Bring a hand, bring a forum post, something that you'd like to discuss with the RECing Crew, and we'll get it on the air and have some fun doing it. So is there anything else that we should cover here, folks, before we get it? Oh, well, we got to talk about the Running Aces poker tournaments coming up. April 26th to 30th is the Running Aces anniversary tournament. That's a $500 buy-in, and there's going to be multiple flights leading into a multiple-day event. Again, that starts on April 26th, although I believe there are some qualifiers starting a little earlier. So you've still got some time to make it to that one. And let me see. Anything else before we close this baby out? I don't see anyone jumping in. So, I guess since we are wrapping up the book study with Matt Matros' The Poker Brain, Rob's going to be sending out some polls and chances for people to vote on what the next book will be. So keep an eagle eye on the RecPoker Twitter account for that. And if you have any suggestions, email them in. Email in to rob@rec.poker or post them in our forums so you can join the book club, the book study group here, and have access to all the other documents and images and screenshots and great stuff that we use in the groups here to help make the study groups as great as possible. Okay, well then, without any further ado, I want to thank Xuan Liu again for coming on and sharing some great insights. John Somsky, Kim Kilroy, Rob Washington, Joe Coolis, Chris Jones, Running Aces Hotel, Racetrack, and Casino, and you, the listeners. All right, you're the best. We'll see you next time.